The economic pressures that ultimately generated if not the collapse, then the setback in the economy, now nearly a decade ago, created, to use the phrase that's either associated with Bill Clinton or Rahm Emanuel, depending on who you believe, never let a good crisis go to waste, is we used the crisis of that particular period of time to reboot, in many respects, the educational model of law schools. Now, I don't want to exaggerate that. We didn't reboot it nearly enough. And the period of time, now roughly 10 years from the setback of the economy, has been, in many respects, the heyday of law school innovation. And I think that 10, 20, 30 years from now, we will look back at this period as a very critical period in which law schools, combined with other parts of the academy, combined with law firms, forged the kind of collaborations that yielded some significant value in innovation and in collaboration.
I think, first of all, there are more different jobs for lawyers. So people who may not have fit well in the mold of a traditional lawyer may have broader opportunities now to practice law in different ways or to work in the service of law in different ways. We have opportunities now to broaden access to justice through deploying some of these efficiency tools and being able to kind of amortize the costs of law over larger bodies of population. And there are people who may have come out of law school not really seeing a path to be able to do that. So I think in a way we're creating different opportunities, but more opportunities and more different career paths for people with different strengths and backgrounds and interests to practice law and to kind of contribute to the profession generally.
One of the things that, as I've been sitting here today, that keeps occurring to me is how much I wish there was more cross-pollination within law, and I mean by that across the academy, the private sector, and the public sector. I know there are folks who go back and forth between the big law firms in DC and the highest levels of DOJ, depending on who's in power. We don't see as much, maybe this is changing, I hope it is, but you don't see people go through academia into private practice, back into academia.
The really big law firms are starting to get it. They're starting to understand that to remain competitive within themselves, they're going to have to differentiate themselves using technology and innovation. The really small law firms also get it because that's the only way they can compete with larger firms. The ones in the middle, I'm not so sure really get it. And they're hit from both sides. The large law firms are taking work away. The small law firms are taking work away. Tort reform is reducing exposure of many of the cases they handled. And I'm afraid that they're going to be in for some hard times in the years ahead. So it's a mixed answer, I guess, depending on how big.
As a lawyer, I'm no longer just telling you the law and applying your facts to the law and advising you how to proceed. It's really more multidimensional. It's helping you then integrate that legal advice into your law department, into your company. How do you affect, how do you affect your business objectives through legal advice? All of those things are tied together, and you need your associates at the very first level to understand how technology and legal operations and project management, they need to know what process mapping is in order to really deliver the best, most holistic kind of legal advice.
We talk a lot about access to justice. We talk about access to legal services, improving our justice system, increasing diversity, right? Are these, are these just platitudes, or are we committed to actually solving these problems? And if you look at, a lot of people talk about solving these problems, but if you look at the progress made in the last 20 years, we're not doing so good, right? And so how do we really say, gee, okay, we're part of this profession, we're part of the legal profession, we've benefited by having this monopoly and the ability to deliver legal services. Let's hold ourselves accountable for, let's get disciplined, let's start setting some clear goals, let's measure where we are, let's start setting target conditions, interim goals, and let's start getting more disciplined about the progress we're going to make.
The reason that I came to the event today is because at Seyfarth we are employing a lot of these tools and techniques and methodologies, and it's always great to get with a group like this, especially law school students and other colleagues in the industry, to talk about the practical application of design and project management and lean and see it in action. I always learn something, so that's why I'm here.
Bringing law students into a different world where clients have different demands, technology is changing, expectations are changing, and the internet continues to change everything, is really important to say, let's have some different perspectives, because the lawyers sitting together at a table end up producing committees and something to study without action. So one of the attractions to me about today was I love now coming to conferences where I get put to work. So it's like, hey, I met a bunch of people, we worked on a problem together, we have something that's a seed of something. I can see working with people, getting to know them in the future.
First of all, I think it mostly has to do with just getting lawyers a little bit out of their, into a new frame of mind, a little bit out of the box. For a long time, law school was pretty narrowly focused. The curriculum was narrowly focused. The sort of the career goals were fairly narrowly focused. I think just exercises like this are kind of opening law students' minds to different ways they can participate in legal services, and not just as the traditional lawyer, but maybe as a technologist, or maybe as a process manager, maybe incorporating science and engineering and data science and other disciplines into their work. That's what's really exciting to me.
I think law is so precedent-based, history-based, that when we need to breathe, vitality into the practice. And there's a lot of comfort in doing things the same way year after year, and so an event like this brings me a feeling of vitality, and I think would be very helpful in law firms and lawyers to, I'm going to go out on a limb here, bring joy, joy to the practice. And I think events like this help with that.
The goal of the Building a Better Lawyer workshop was really to bring together students, practitioners, and academics. And it was a program that we did in connection with Margaret Hagan at the Legal Design Lab. She's been here at Michigan State before, so we were very fortunate. She has some ties in Michigan and agreed to come back. And we had a great collection of practitioners from all over the country, and also we had quite a few people who came in from Toronto. So the idea was really to allow our students to be in an environment where they're working with practitioners and others.
Well, I think it's all about bringing the community together and getting populations that otherwise don't get the chance to talk to each other, to compare notes, to think about strategies. So having leaders from the bar alongside leaders of legal aid, alongside technologists and people from law schools, but all these people who otherwise are interested in innovating, but in their silos, get a chance to come together, talk, and really imagine what a future that's more coherent and better for the public as well as better for lawyers could be.
So one of the inspiring things about a program like the LegalRnD program here is that it shows us that the profession can get it, and there's some sort of glimmer of hope where we just need more of that momentum, like what Dan is doing at the LegalRnD program, to be able to build on what you're doing here and deploy it across more law schools. Right now it's still it's kind of isolated in the sense that there's not enough of it. But if schools like this start graduating law students and lawyers who actually get it in terms of what the opportunities are to practice law differently, that's a huge win. And if we could have more of that, then I think it would solve the pipeline problem, it would solve the sort of better service delivery problem, and we'd be way ahead of the game.
As Executive Director of the State Bar of Michigan, I feel really, really fortunate that right in my backyard is one of the premier pioneering law schools for figuring out the importance of innovation and research and development and data to how to make not just the law school experience better, but how to make the legal profession more relevant, more user-friendly, and again, how to make lawyers happier in what they're doing because they're serving their clients better.
Legal R&D is phenomenal, and many students have made their mark thus far. Professor Lina's contributions here inspire students, and I have had some experience with several students at MSU who have a vigor and a vitality, and they have the sense of purpose, and they are unabashed in their commitment to the law and their commitment to doing things differently. And without this program, I don't know that we would have that spirit.
I've had tremendous interactions with the legal R&D students, and I think it's a really significant program. And when we looked at 10 years from now, I think we'll look back at legal R&D as starting something really important that caused a lot of significant and productive change. The students have been great. They're enthusiastic. I did a little project with them. I couldn't have been more pleased with the input that they brought to it. And it's a tough market out there, and in some ways I feel sorry that they're in this tough market, but I think they're such great law students. I think they have so much potential, and it's great that they're finding a different outlet that I think will really help the profession in the future.
But the combination of the folks who have come through the Michigan State program as faculty members, the vision that the former dean had, Joan Howarth, and a vision that I certainly hope and expect will continue on into the future, has put Michigan State in a unique position as leading innovation with a very small handful of law schools, hopefully that over time will grow, that has really doubled down on the idea that what students need, what law students need in our modern day and age, is exposure to innovative thinking, some deep and broad exposure to legal technology and to the business structure, and to borrow a phrase that one of the alums of the Michigan State Legal R&D program memorably described, T-shaped lawyers. So there's nothing proprietary in any important way about the work being done at Michigan State in particular, but again, as a first mover and as a leader in this space, it's contributed an enormous amount to what all of us in the legal academy at many other law schools are aspiring to do and thinking about doing to advance the causes that we consider important.